Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we're going to be talking about the Shadowmaster Illrigger subclass. Yes, I said Illrigger. If you don't know what that is, make sure you watch the base class video.
That's not a real word.
Created by Matthew Colville, so it is unofficial, but it has been heavily tested, and lots of thoughts on that, which we will get to.
I'll question that when we get to the capstone.
So, if you're new to the channel, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all the subclass abilities. Then we're going to rate it based on its RP value, combat value, and overall class synergy, based on how the abilities gained in this subclass improve on the base class abilities.
Bingo.
We also have the giveaway for the D&D Beyond Players Bundle.
Free stuff.
Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to be entered in that. We also have our merch store open. So, make sure you check that out too.
We have that now. That's right.
So, today's video was sponsored by Hit Point Press and their Big Bad Booklet series, which is a monthly zine featuring new boss monsters for 5th edition. It includes full details about each monster's backstory, personality, and tactics, and includes a fully rendered illustration of the creature on the cover and a fully illustrated interior. Meet December's Big Bad, Kareth. Once a beautiful and proud unicorn, the brutal loss of his rider has filled Kareth with vengeful spite and hatred. Can you bring Kareth's path of destruction to a halt, or will you become his latest wretched rider? Sign up before the end of December to receive this magical, terrifying Big Bad. Subscribe today at bigbads.com. We'll just jump straight into it. Alex, what do we get with our tenants?
We get tenants. Again, think for the shorthand, if you haven't watched Illrigger yet and you're already kind of here and you don't want to go back and watch it, you just want to be confused, what a brave soul you are. This is kind of like Paladin and Warlock mixed. They call it a hellknight, another word for it, to kind of give you an idea of the general base class flavor before we get into where the subclass goes. And as general rule, all these subclasses really have a heavier impact on the way the character's played than a lot of traditional 5e classes and subclass combos. The subclass really controls how the class is played as a whole.
Yes.
With the tenets, it's plans within plans. You're a schemer. Create chaos. Disorder is the goal. Power in patience. You're not reckless. It's about making the right decision or strategy. And hesitation is failure. But once you've got the right time, bam, you got them.
As Alex was saying, each of these is kind of similar to a warlock and a paladin, kind of mixed. So you have the tenets from the paladin, and you have a contract for kind of with the patron.
Yep.
Which is with this subclass is with Moloch. So with this, you gain 2 features for your Invoke Authority ability, which you can use once a day. And with those, the first one is Fade. As an action, you can become invisible and can, as part of this action, attempt to take the hide action. The invisibility ends after 1 minute, or if you make an attack or cast a spell, which is normal for invisibility kind of stuff. And the second option for Invoke Authority is Moloch's Blessing. As a bonus action, you can place all your remaining seals on a creature. So, quick recap, seals you get equal to your charisma modifier.
Yep.
Special bonus that's going to synergize with this subclass and all the subclasses in different ways. How that's worked. And as you're kind of probably getting a thought on here, is this is basically the rogue-ish version of the Illrigger.
Basically, it's the 3 traditional RPG classes. You've got like Fighter Man, Rogue Man, Caster Man. That's what we got here.
Pretty much, yeah. Almost exactly.
Rogue Man. So you also get Flash of Brimstone as a reaction to placing a seal on a target. You can teleport to an occupied space that you can see adjacent to that target. So again, as you're placing a seal, normally as a bonus action, unless there's a specific thing that says otherwise, or your buff seal abilities you get from your subclass, you can just go blink right to that target so you can get right there in their face. Also, with bonus proficiencies, you gain proficient with Stealth, Acrobatics, and Thieves' Tools. Again, Rogue Man.
Yes. Then you also, at level 1, which you get a nice scaling ability here with Dagger Adept.
I love scaling abilities.
While 2-weapon fighting with daggers and or sickles, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack, and you can draw or stow 2 daggers or sickles when you would normally be able to draw or stow only 1. At 5th level, your daggers and sickles do 1d6. At 11th, they upgrade to 1d8 damage. At 17th level, they upgrade to 1d10 damage. And another thing to keep in mind with this as well is Illrigger gets extra attack as well. So 2-weapon fighting means you can attack with your bonus action another time, so you're going to get 3 attacks with the bonus action. Extra attack, 1 attack, and then bonus action.
Yes.
So nice attacks on there with the extra modifier added on as well. Then at level 7, we get Relentless. You increase your movement speed by 10 feet. Easy enough. Then at 9th level, we get only a memory. Your mastery of Shadow grants you advantage on dexterity stealth checks when taking the hide action, and hide becomes a bonus action for you. It's worded a little weird because it's when you take the hide action, but then it's the next part becomes a bonus action.
Yeah.
So it's Anyways, you're basically getting the rogue feature to be able to use bonus action to hide.
Yeah, and you're really good at it.
Yes.
At 13, you're going to get another ability that sounds
Familiar.
suddenly roguish. You get evasion. So again, anytime you make a dexterity saving throw against an area effect damage, you instead of normally you take half damage, you take no damage instead, and you succeed the saving throw, and only half if you fail. So that's always great. At 17, we have Shadow Killer. You gain dark vision and can see normally in magical darkness. In addition, you can see the exact location of any creature within 60 feet using illusion spells to obfuscate. What a fun word. Their location, such as blur, mirror image, or invisibility.
Yeah, definitely can come into play there.
Indeed.
Before we get to the capstone,
Yes.
we'll jump to the side. This is how the PDF is laid out.
Yep.
There are interdite improvements, which are your seals that you get throughout the subclass. You're going to get 1 improvement at level 6, 1 improvement at level 10, and 1 improvement at level 18.
Which is the same for all 3 subclasses.
Yes. So the level 6 one is called Marked for Death. Your connection to Moloch's power deepens. If you hit an interdicted creature with a melee attack, you can mark them for death. Target has disadvantage on attack rolls that do not include you until the end of its next turn. While that creature is interdicted, it must make a wisdom saving throw whenever it tries to leave your reach. On a failure, its speed instead becomes 0 until the start of its next turn. The effect lasts until it is no longer interdicted, you leave its reach, or it leaves your reach. So it's kind of a pseudo taunt, making it attack you, because if it tries to attack someone else, it's going to have disadvantage.
Yep.
And if it tries to move away from you, it could potentially lose all of its movement speed.
Yep.
So, interesting on there. Second option at level 10 is He is the Darkness. While within 10 feet of an interdicted enemy, shadows envelop you, and you gain benefits of half cover, which is a +2 to your AC, essentially. Lastly, at level 18, we have Hell's Assassin. Your seals do 3d10 damage instead of 3d6. So if you have that charisma modifier up, and you use your invoke authority to throw 5 seals on somebody, you're going to be throwing a good old-fashioned
You're trying to
15
absolutely
D10.
assassinate something.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of damage pumped out, but you'll be out of seals at that point, too. So
That may be worth it.
Yeah, could very well be.
And of course, at level 20, we have our capstone. Just like with paladins, it's usually bonkers. This classifies for bonkers. You have shadow form. As an action, you can become a greater shadow for 1 minute. You gain damage resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. You gain incorporeal movement and a flying speed of 50 feet. You can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. You take 1d10 force damage if you end your turn inside the object, but you are not shunted out. That specifically leaves that out. Yes. Your weapon attack deals necrotic damage, which is great just for overcoming resistances, because fewer things are resistant to necrotic damage versus regular piercing, slashing damage. Yes. And pay attention to what I'm about to say here. Successful attacks drain 1d4 strength from the target. Not hit points. This is their actual strength score. If this drain reduces the target strength to 0, dies. Not go unconscious. It does not go unconscious. It dies. Otherwise, the drain lasts. The target finishes a short or long rest. So, like if it feels like itself, it's like its soul's being ripped out. It just feels like, I don't like this. I run away. Keep chasing. It's not going to go away once it gets out of reach of you. If a non-evil humanoid dies from this attack, a new shadow rises from the corpse 1d4 hours later. You cannot use this feature again until you finish a long rest.
Yeah, pretty crazy. We'll go over that in the combat section here in a second.
Yeah.
But for the time being, those are all of the abilities gained in the subclass.
Which is a bunch.
So yes, we'll move over into the rating portion. First up is the roleplay value, asterisk as always. When talking about the roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background that's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in this subclass and how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios. So, all of that out of the way, there are some interesting things with the Shadowmaster. Obviously, the main things on here are your stealth, acrobatics, and thieves tool proficiencies. Easy enough. You have your invoke to give you invisibility once a day, essentially. increased movement speed is never bad for exploration. It can be good for things like chases and things that are kind of in combat, but not quite in full combat.
That's that whole middle ground.
Yes. You also have hide as a bonus action, which is very niche, but again can come into play with things like chases or when timing is very important. If your DM wants to try to say if it was a full action, maybe you couldn't, but since it's a bonus action, maybe you can get away with it.
No, you're trying to break into somebody's place and steal something. There's people coming down the hallway, maybe because you can hide quick enough.
Right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's maybe some gray area on there. And then also seeing illusion protected creatures can be niche, but if someone's hiding, trying to maybe eavesdrop on a conversation or something, or maybe you see a scrying spell, you see it floating there, there's some stuff. I don't know.
Disguise self.
That's kind of another gray area because it's not necessarily a creature.
It's illusion magic.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is. So, yeah, with that, there's definitely some interesting options. But I think one other thing to not forget about is the Flash of Brimstone teleport. You use a seal to do it, but you could target an ally with a seal and teleport if you really needed that teleport just for a clutch. Maybe you're falling off a building or something, and you just need to be like, buddy, Mark, Misty Step.
Essentially, Misty Step.
So yeah, definitely interesting on there. We gave it a flat 3 on here for the RP. Some nice options, but nothing crazy in the roleplay department.
Sure. On the combat side of things, we get interesting because, again, we're very roguey with the whole concept of being able to, we can take the hide action if we need to with your Fade Invoke Authority. But more importantly, we can just try to annihilate something with the bonus action of Moloch's Blessing. You're replacing all of your remaining seals on a creature, especially when those get more angry. That's always fun. The Flash of Brimstone also would work in combat. If you place a seal, you can get right there in somebody's face if you want to, especially if it's a caster with not a lot of health and it's further away. Get right there in their business. Great times. Dagger Adept, I'm a huge fan of scaling abilities. So it helps you be able to keep the flavor of the dagger, sickle, rogue kind of thing. I imagine, I told Jameson, if I played this, I would totally go sickles and do an Arabian style character with because that's even what the kind of garb makes me think of a little bit. I really like the artwork that's in there. The fact that damage keeps scaling up for you passively every few levels is great. Additional movement speed, always helpful. Lets you get in and out of stuff very quickly. Being able to take the hide action as a bonus action for you and have advantage on stealth checks when you do so, always fun. Evasion helps you take less damage. Being able to get around for combat side with Shadow Killer, invisibility, yes, but more importantly, I think, and more unusual, is being able to see through blur and mirror image. So somebody is harder to hit when they blur mirror image. There's multiple copies. You know which one's the right one. It could even, heck, for your party, you can call that out because you would know which one it is.
DM discretion, of course.
I mean, I think you could. It's part of your on your turn, as part of your turn, like your free action. You can say, hey, this guy, pap, because you could be throwing a dagger, hitting him with a sword. It's this guy. With your improvements on your inner diag, of course, Mark for Death. Yeah, it does the thing. It does the thing. Targets a disadvantage on attack rolls against anybody that's not you. It makes me think of Path of the Ancients Barbarian, where it's kind of like their spirits help you, because if you attack somebody else, no, you want to attack me, which is kind of weird because
you're getting stuff like stealth, but then you're also getting look at me.
Yeah, it's almost made me think if instead of evasion it had uncanny dodge, it would make more sense because you could uncanny dodge one of those attacks while kind of soft taunting to yourself.
Yeah, it's a little strange to me, but
it's like that is turned around by the fact they do give you in the He is Darkness, if it's interdicted enemy, you do get half cover, so you're getting a +2 to your AC. And again, seal damage going up to a 3d10 lets your seals absolutely hurt somebody, especially if you use the Moloch's Blessing to put all of your remaining seals on something.
Yeah.
And finally, the Shadow form. Okay, the resistance to all the damage is great because it's a bunch of different damage types, both elemental and traditional martial damages. Incorporeal movement lets you get through objects and move around at will. Flying speed of not your regular walking speed, but 50 feet.
Because why not?
Because you can get literally anywhere and go through solid objects. Even if it was just that, it'd be like, that's not bad. Yeah. I've seen worse capstones. But that's not the reason why this is one of the most silly things I've ever seen in print.
It's pretty ridiculous to me.
Because it drains 1d4 strength from a target. And this is literally outside of, again, I try to figure out maybe open hand monk with quivering palm. If something fails a saving throw, you can just automatically kill it. This puts anything, even like an ancient red dragon or a Tarask, on a turn clock. Because you're draining strength. The most they're going to have is 30. 1d4 per turn, average 2.5, 3 per attack. Well, because you've got finesse type weapons and 2-weapon fighting, and you have extra attack. So it's attack, bonus action, attack. If you hit 2 out of 3 of those every turn on average,
it's going to not last a long combat.
You're going to be annihilating everything.
This is pretty much like the 1v1 me, bro.
Yeah.
Like nothing can 1v1 you pretty much at this point. I think with this, well, the biggest issue, I think, is they probably should have made it once a turn, maybe? Because not a whole lot of stuff even has 20 strength, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of things don't, unless it's a big angry biter or, if you're taking, if CR 17 plus things.
Right, if you're getting it to the point where you're hitting, like Alex said, even twice, if you hit 3 times, imagine you hit all 3 attacks and you roll 3 4s. You subtracted 12 strength
from something.
You could kill something in one turn.
Because in all technicality, not only is it just like reducing their ability to die so quickly, but because you're reducing their strength, if they attack with their strength,
right,
you're reducing their chance to hit and their damage output with melee attacks as well.
Right. So,
which is wild.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. So it's definitely interesting, and it maybe should be once a turn. I don't know. It's a little strange to me that you can just essentially, if you have enough time, you can just kill something on your own if you can hit it relatively regularly.
Yeah. Oh, score-wise, we ended up going with a 4.5.
Yeah.
I mean, that capstone is buck wild, but it is all the way at level 20.
Yes.
So that's something to keep in mind. You do, damage. You can try to assassinate stuff by dumping all your seals. You get some kind of a Misty Step type effect, extra movement speed. There's a lot of great things there. It is slightly hurt by the same thing that Painkiller is hurt by, is that, outside of the scaling daggers, you're not getting a whole lot until you hit 6 with your first Interdite improvement. And then it's, 6, 7, 9, 11, 13. It starts snowballing in a hurry after that.
Right.
But you're not getting a bunch early. Where your base class gives you a good chunk early, then it kind of goes dead for a while. So it definitely feels like they're built like martial classes where you get a little bit of something almost every level between your base class and your subclass, which is great. And that does feel good. But yeah, 4.5 out of a possible 5.
Yeah, it's just the capstone really does carry it a little bit, I think, on there.
Yep.
But it being so high, like level 20 to get there, is a lot of campaigns will never even get to that point.
Nope.
And really, the thing that's nice is the dagger add at level 1. And then with it scaling, you're going to be dealing, eventually 1d10, but with 3 attacks plus your modifier.
Yep.
It's going to be pretty consistent.
Well, and you get the 2-weapon fighting style effect for free.
Right.
And you get your pit, so that's great as well.
Yeah, so definitely interesting on that side. And then lastly, we have the overall class synergy. First thing, of course, you have to point out is just the way the base class is built. Yep. There's just so much innate potential for the synergy, just because you're getting 2 invoke authority options, you're getting 3 bonuses to your seals, and then you're going to get 6 other abilities with the subclass. There's just lots of stuff to work with that doesn't happen for any other class. So with that being said, the stacking seals thing is pretty good. Yep. And you can, basically once per short rest, you're just going to do a chunk of damage to somebody.
If you want to, yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely pretty good. You have your invisibility, but when you can chunk someone out, it's a lot.
And you can essentially try to remove one thing from combat immediately. Yeah.
You can do some silly stuff with that. The buff to the seals is pretty nice as well. You go up from a D6 to a D10. It's a nice little jump up there on your average damage, and a higher floor or higher ceiling on there as well. So definitely some interesting stuff on there. One of the weird things for me, again, as Alex was saying, is the pseudo tank with the seal bonus is interesting, but it just feels out of place to me. Yeah, because you're not you do get the +2 to your AC with
he's in the darkness, the level 10 ability. Yeah.
Right. But even with that, if you're dual weapon fight or 2-weapon fighting, you're not going to be using a shield.
Nope.
And if you're using a shield, then you don't get your bonuses to your daggers,
Which really defeats the purpose.
So your AC is not going to be crazy high.
Yep.
And you're going to have medium armor. So do you really want these things hitting you, focusing on you so much?
Yep.
I mean, it's a D10. You can take some hits, but at the same time, this is also, mind you, in the subclass it's giving you stealth bonuses and hiding bonuses. It just seems a little out of place to me. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is, I guess. Just overall, we just gave it a 4 out of 5 on the synergy. It has some nice bonuses for sure, but nothing super crazy. And the stuff that it does get, I mean, the extra damage, you're getting it
at 18.
At 18 for the seals. So it's just some of the top end. It's a little slow at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it is nice because it gets the scaling. So it is what it is on there. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up, guys. Very roguish, paladin, warlocky thing going on here.
I don't know how you pronounce that.
Galadonok.
Sure.
Galadonok.
Gesundheit.
Anyways. So yeah, definitely interesting choice on here, where the first one was very much like a paladin. This one's very much like a rogue. And the next one you'll see is kind of like a wizard, I guess. Still, stay tuned for that.
Indeed.
Make sure to visit our sponsors at bigbads.com. But that's all for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when our new videos are coming out. Check out our Amazon store. Check out our merch store. We got lots of cool stuff on there. So I guess that's it. As always, guys, thanks for watching.